Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon and welcome to the School of Nursing, the Faculty of Medicine, Bioscience and Nursing. Once again, we meet today in our Facebook Live. So for today, there'll be something very interesting for all of us to share. And I'm very, very happy to be with you all today and hope you all have a good afternoon, hope good session with us. So before we go on to our main talk today, I just would like to tell you a little bit about the School of Nursing. Okay, the School of Nursing, now previously it was the Faculty of Nursing. Because of the restructuring in the university, now we are under the Faculty of Medicine, Bioscience and Nursing. So just to take you down to memory lane, we, like as usual, we would have our vision to be the excellent center for higher education in this region, and if it's possible globally, and through our missions that you see in the slides, where we try to deliver education of the highest quality with emphasis on hands-on training, and then for us to be able to produce nurses or students, and actually some are already nurses, or we call them professionals, through qualified, dedicated and experienced teachers, and to provide the state-of-the-art facilities to ensure that the desired standard of education is being delivered. So if you go back down a little bit more, how we started the School of Nursing, it was a very humble beginning. It was the brainchild of Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Professor Dr. Muhammad Hanifah bin Abdullah, the Pro-Chancellor and also the Chief Executive Officer, who started out in then Bukit Damansara, which now I don't think you can see Pusat Bandar Damansara now as it was previously in 2005. That was where they started, and the first program that was initiated was the Diploma of Nursing. And after which, after a few years, we shifted to the next center, the Faculty of Nursing, where we were previously in Jalan University campus. That was in 2013. And then now, after a while staying there, we are now in our main campus at Bandar Saujana Putra. So now, if you look back, where it all started was in 2005 with the diploma in nursing, after which we ventured into getting the Bachelor of Science in Nursing with collaboration from the universities overseas, especially Northern Berea University and also the University of Teesside, where we had two programs which we catered for the working nurses, as well as for those who wanted to join nursing from the very start, the pre-registration. And later on, we ventured into we went further where we put in the postgraduate programs, where we had the Master of Nursing in collaboration with Northern Berea University and the University, Liverpool John Moores University in UK. And as time passed by, we went further, and then from just a simple college, MAHSA College, we went up to university college status. And in 2013, we became a full-fledged university where, especially in the School of Nursing, or at that time it was the Faculty of Nursing, where we ventured into our own programs. And if you can see down the road, the kind of programs that we had from the time we started until now, just let you know, this is the programs that we have now. We have 14 programs, and we are proud of the programs. It ranges from the post-basic certificate courses like gerontology, peri-op, critical care, renal nursing, and the diploma in nursing, and right up to the postgraduate until the Doctor of Philosophy in nursing. So this is the time that we would like to inform you that from 2005 to 2013 and up to now 2020, we have 14 programs in hand run by the School of Nursing. So this is where actually we would like you all to see in Bandar Saujana Putra campus. If you look at the physical facilities that we have all sorts of facilities. We have no, you can't, maybe it's a bit too small for you to see here, but then the university has expanded so much that everything is all in one. It is a package by itself if you come. And other than the nursing programs, you also have other programs like engineering, business. We have also the dental, the medicine. We have IT. We have so many programs. So there's a lot for you to choose. But for today, we are focusing on nursing and midwifery. So just to inform you a little bit of what we have here in the campus, with which we share with our students, and our students are very happy to be here. These are some of the teaching facilities that you have, the small group teaching areas and the lecture theatres. And then these are all our skills lab, more for nursing. Just to show you a little bit, and where especially our nurses, our students go for the practical or the clinical placement. Basically, we focus in HKL. This is where they get their clinical practice and experience throughout their training with us. And some other student activities and clubs that you see where our nursing students are very active in class education, where they get their education in nursing, as well as outside in the community. What we want is we train them, besides giving them the nursing knowledge, we also train them to be useful in the community, how to live, or how to get yourself adjusted in the community, what you can do in the community. This is what we want, is a wholesomeness, the wholesomeness. So these are things, if you look there, our nurses, our students are very cheerful, are very active. They, besides learning, they also do a lot of activities. This will keep them alert. And what we want is somebody who's very professional, and they are multi-skilled, and they can be fitted anywhere, right? So these are some of the seminars and student exchange program which we have or had locally, and as well as we send our students overseas. So these are some of the activities which will build them, will develop them into a wholesome nurse, professional nurse. Besides the undergraduate courses or training, these are some of the international students on the, what you call, exchange programs. And our postgraduate, this is the Master of Nursing students. Besides coming to class, they also go for attachment in health facilities all over in Malaysia, or if they prefer to be where they come from, overseas, they can go back there for their clinical placement or attachment. So in a nutshell, this is what I would like to inform you about what we have in the School of Nursing, the programs, 14 programs. Come and join us and see what is it that you like, what are the disciplines there for you, what is your interest. So these are the things that we have now currently, and together with the staff, the nursing staff that we have, we will provide whatever necessary to make you a good nurse and a safe nurse. And these are the proud moments of our graduates. If you see the photograph on the left, these are nurses who graduated and they are now working overseas. And the one on the right, the big group, are the convocation that we had, if I'm not mistaken, the one last year, where we have group from diplomas right up to the PhD level, postgraduate level. So how you look at them, so how happy they are. So these are the things that we are proud of our students, and we would actually love more of you to come and join us in the courses that we provide. Just call us anytime and we'll be there for you. I think that's all that I would like to spend our time on, telling you a little bit about the School of Nursing, so that we will have more time this afternoon to talk about the topic of discussion. Right. So to continue with what we have, I would just like to introduce to you our speaker for the day. Right. Our speaker for the day here would be, we have with us, I'm very proud to introduce to you, Professor Dato Dr. Matsaat bin Muhammad Baki, who hails from Teluk Intan in the state of Perak. And actually, I'm also proud of him because he comes from the same hometown like me. Oh, one up for us. And he had his early education there. He later went to complete his education at the Royal Military College in Kuala Lumpur. Thereon, his academic qualifications in the area of psychology, social works and management, and he had obtained the Bachelor of Psychology and the Master of Social Works from the University of Western Australia in Perth. Later, in 1982, he obtained his PhD in Clinical Psychology from the United States International University in San Diego in California. And after pursuing his PhD, he continued to take on more strings to his academic qualifications, and this saw his involvement in marriage, family, and child counseling in San Francisco. Later, he continued to serve at the Institute of Advanced Study of Human Sexuality, and he was a sexologist and sex therapist. This is one thing that's quite very interesting. With all those qualifications in hand, he went on further to pursue his studies in the field of management in Banff School of Advanced Management in Canada in 1996, and he later obtained a certificate in inner quality management from Boulder Creek, California, USA in the year 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, who better if not the highly learned and experienced personality, Professor Dato Dr. Matsaat bin Muhammad Baki, to talk to us this afternoon on an emerging COVID-19 crisis, which is another public health crisis to the toll of the new coronavirus, which acts like an opportunistic infection, rising in the conditions created by the pandemic. Let's now invite Professor Dato Dr. Mat bin Muhammad Baki to take center stage and share with us on the afternoon's talk entitled Intimate Terrorism. It's all yours, Dato. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Puan Nazara. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Dr. Matsaat. Currently I'm a professor at UNICEF, University Selangor, and also clinical psychologist. I'm a consultant in that area. And I'm doing a lot of work currently in the areas of domestic violence, conventional fatigue, and trauma management. So today's topic is on intimate terrorism. And intimate terrorism, hopefully we can move this. At this moment, it's not moving. Okay, so I hope that's my introduction. Okay, intimate terrorism, by definition, the use of various forms of abuse to control, dominate, and gain power over a partner. There are three basic elements there. First is to control, meaning that the perpetrator wants to control the victim in terms of movement, in terms of activities, in terms of whatever they want to do. They need to refer back to the abuser. Number two is to dominate. The abuser not only control but dominate the partner and gain power over partner using various forms of violence. So in simple terms, intimate terrorism refers to violence towards a partner. Next slide. So in terms of, I think we are moving a little bit too far. We need to go back. There. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you the forms of abuse are used by a perpetrator of intimate terrorism. The first one is emotional, and followed by physical, sexual, psychological, cohesive control, and the last one, financial. In terms of financial abuse, I will discuss that further. So now let's focus what it means by emotional abuse. So emotional abuse refers to name calling, put downs, public humiliation, mind games, threats, setting rules and changing them at will, and also threaten to harm the family or the victim. Physical violence refers to hitting, punching, slapping, shoving, hair pulling, restraining, bullying, using weapons, using household objects to hurt or as a weapon. Sexual abuse, on the other hand, refers to forced sex, rape, demands to perform sexual acts against one's will, treating partner as a sex object. Coercive control, item number 5, refers to isolation, making rules for everyday activities, forcing to do things that they have the right to refuse, preventing someone to do things they have the right to do on their own, such as sleeping, bathing, changing clothes, or taking medicine. These are the four main types. The other one, the last one is coercive control, we already discussed. And the other issue is that in terms of financial. So financial abuse, I will discuss them later on. So next slide, we talk about the pre-existing conditions. Before intimate terrorism occur, there are a number of things that have occurred previously to that. Intimate terrorism is the ultimate point where domestic violence is preeminence. Number one is intimate partner conflict. So intimate partner conflict refers to when let me check what I have. Okay, intimate partner conflict refers to the couple having difficulty relating to each other. Let me find my note. Okay, they have intimate partner conflict. So the couple concerned having difficulties in getting along with each other, and that sometimes lead to family conflict. Partner conflict have occurred between the husband and the wife, while family conflict differs to everyone in the family system. So I'm going to go back to intimate partner conflict, what it means. Intimate partner conflict means indifference. I don't know whether we have the notes here. Okay,
Which one?
Number 5. Intimate partner. Okay, now we have it. We have difficulty looking because our font is quite small. So intimate partner conflict refers to one, indifference to emotional needs, meaning the husband, in this case, do not give due regard to the needs of the wife as a partner in the relationship. Number 2, distrust due to paranoia. Number 3, relationship stresses. Actually, under COVID-19, when pandemic, we have a lot of stress in our environment, not only getting along with others and how to take, including how to take care of physical and emotional well-being. Pattern of discontinuation of relationship. So there's some situation where the partner leaves each other, move somewhere else, or leaving home. Number 5, impulsive sexual involvement. This is quite difficult to do in the COVID pandemic situation. However, this occurs where the couple, normally the husband, are involved in sexual relationship without thinking through the process. It is an impulsive act, and sometimes they feel guilty about it. Sometimes they just take it as part of the current living situation. Number 6, increased spousal discontent or violence between partners. That is showing physical hitting each other and a lot of unhappiness within the relationship. That refers to intimate partner conflict. The next one, the family conflict. So there is an imbalance of activity in the family. So currently, where many partners are living in difficult time, where husband and wife are not staying together and not much money coming in. So most of the time, the husband are at home, and a lot of differences in activities that used to be done before are not doing now. So that creates imbalance in the relationship. Number 2, increased child-parent conflict. So within the family system, the children and the parents are fighting with each other and not getting along. This is actually now when all the family members are stuck in the house and they have no outlet, no physical outlet to go, and no other social activities that can then take away their relationship on each other.
Right.
Number 3, anxiety and anger management. Okay, high anxiety level due to pandemic situation, example in terms of financial stress, and then inability to control anger. Number 4, increased incident of compulsive behavior. So this is quite strange because we consider excessive washing as compulsive behavior, but now it is a norm. So you wash your hand 30, 40 times a day is considered norm now. But traditionally, this is considered obsessive compulsive disorder. So due to the COVID-19 situation, we increase in our compulsive activities. So in fact, COVID-19 trained us to be more obsessive and compulsive than before. Number 5, dependency issues, jealousy, and insecurity. Actually, now within these times of financial distress, digital distress, being at home, loneliness, anxiety, that creates sense of insecurity within the relationship. So depression is quite high during the COVID-19. Any time when we have difficulties, depression and anxiety are the first two indications of a psychological problem. But after depression, disengagement, meaning that the couple are not relating to each other anymore, they stand on their own, they are in silo. Intolerance of certain behavior that normally is accepted, and defensiveness. Okay, these are some of the issues in family conflict. Okay, the third area is then we also talk about belief system for domestic violence. So before that, we need to look at domestic violence. Uh, domestic violence. I think one more down. Yeah. Next one. After family conflict. We are going back. No title. Okay. It seems that we are missing one article. Maybe come back later. So the belief system for domestic violence, in general, there are 6 different types of beliefs. The first one, manipulation and endure to get control and to get what they want and need. So basically, in domestic violence, the control issue is dominant, and related to control is manipulation of the partner to meet one's need. Number 2, intimidating others to give them in order to get respect from the others, they intimidate the family members. Violence, they believe violence solves problem. You hit and you control the other person through physical means, that you have control of the situation. The next one, sense of entitlement. This traditional belief among Asian especially, where men feel entitled to control, to beat. So the next one, they should have the power and control over others. So they feel that they believe that they have the power to control over the family members and their partners, and their life should take priority over others, meaning that the perpetrator feel that their own lives is more important than anybody else. So that's what the belief behind the domestic violence. Okay, it's not moving. Intimate partner violence. This term has been used frequently during the last few years. Formerly, we talk about spousal abuse, but now we will use the word intimate partner because intimate partner can be in marital relationship or also in non-marital relationship, but they are intimate with each other. So intimate partner violence involve current or former intimate partner engages in physical, sexual, verbal, psycho violence or stalking. So these are the first indications that you are suffering from intimate partner violence. Number 2, assaultive and coercive behaviors, meaning that the partner assault you and control you. Number 3, progressively isolating the victim and deprivation of needs. So the victim are isolated from relationship within the family system, and all their needs, both mental, physical, emotional needs, are deprived. Belief in strict gender roles. So usually the husband feels that he is in control, he is in charge of everything, and the wife is subservient to that belief. Desire for control and powers in the relationship, and last area, perpetrating psychological aggression. So I will discuss further in terms what are the more common form of psychological aggression. So contributing factors to intimate partner violence. Number 1, form retaliation and harboring feelings of rejection. If you feel rejected and you want to retaliate, then you use the partner as a source or as a target for the intimate violence. Emotional immaturity and jealousy. Number 3, blaming others and lack of personal responsibilities. So anything is wrong within the family system, usually the female partner are to be blamed, and they themselves are obvious to that. Depression, anger, hostility, security and dependency, marital conflict and instability, and last area is economic or financial stress. This is the biggest issue currently because many couples are out of job, and usually the breadwinner are not getting any money now. Situational couple violence. This is another version of intimate partner violence. So the physical force without context of control, meaning that they are using physical forces like hitting, slapping, but it's not in terms of control. It's more of corrective behavior. Number two, poor communication resulting to verbal aggression. The couples are not able to talk and discuss problems with each other. Instead of talking and communicating, they use verbal aggression to control or to manage the difficulties within the relationship. This is quite harmful and may lead to serious injury. If they are not able to manage the anger and unable to control the physical aggression, that can lead to many difficult situations actually in terms of physical injuries. Now we are talking, the major topic for today's presentation is in terms of intimate terrorism. A lot of people ask me why we use the word terrorism. It sounds so frightening. In fact, it is frightening because the partner, the victim cannot escape from the environment. The victim is held hostage within the family situation, and COVID-19 pandemic is unfortunately have to use the word excellent situation where this can happen because the victim cannot escape from the environment. So the major issues in intimate terrorism is the hostage situation and ability to escape. That would mean that this person, the city, will continue to suffer as long as these two conditions don't change. So in intimate terrorism, in terms of general description, the partners seek to dominate and control the victim's life. The perpetrator are usually the male, and the victims are usually female. But this can happen in certain situations. Same-sex partners also involved in the intimate terrorism. Number two is psychological aggression to harm mentally and emotionally. Number three, coercive control and excessive monitoring. Since both of them stay in the same house, they cannot escape, so the perpetrator can monitor every movement that the victim is doing. So as if they are under closed circuit TV. So this causes a lot of anxiety, it causes depression and anger in the victim. But since the victim can escape, they are held hostage in the home and their suffering continue to increase. Threats of physical violence and sexual violence is always there because of inability to escape, and in addition to the increase in anxiety, stress, and depression in the perpetrator. Number five, exploitation of vulnerabilities. For example, if the wife feel that she has some problem that she needs a solution, but the husband knows if he use this problem, he can control the wife, so he's taking advantage of the situation. Number six, false information causing victim to doubt their own memories and perceptions. So the partner keep on telling each other, the victim what's happening, what's going wrong, and most of them the information are not accurate, and there's no way to verify the information because you're closed, you're isolated, and you're locked down in your own house. So the next issues, underlying issues in intimate terrorism involve three main areas. Number one, coercive control and intimidation, as I discussed earlier. The victims fear harms, not only being harm for herself, but also for other people. And it is quite difficult to break free from this. Violent resistance. So sometimes the victim retaliate from the violence, but this is only a temporary means of coping. However, there is a larger fear on top of that, is fear of ramifications. That will mean that the victim can be hurt further and more frequently. Number three, victimization. More prevalent attacks and less likely to stop. So during the intimate terrorism situation, the victim and the hostage will continue to suffer. So victims experience more likely to be injured, more symptoms of PTSD. Number two, engage in violent acts to maintain status of emotional dependency, meaning that the husband use physical violence to be dependent on wife. Actually, if there are some indications that the wife involved in other activities, actually in terms of fidelity and infidelity issues. This situation can escalate over time and involve serious injury. So a lot of clinical situation indicated that at the beginning, the victim experience is quite light, not serious enough to come to the clinic. But after a few months, the injuries become worse and can lead to serious physical harm and may actually lead to death. Number four, expressive aggression, meaning the perpetrator continuously use words that hurt, words that are mean to express their satisfaction to the partner. And there's no way the partner can retaliate because of retaliation lead to further problem. And unfortunately, the experience is long-lasting and serious effects on victim physical and mental health. So here there is a special need for therapists or for counselors to develop skill in managing intimate terrorism. We have some skill in managing domestic violence, but in terms of intimate terrorism, further skills are needed because the dynamic of the situation is slightly different from what we understand before. Okay, next slide. So, intimate terrorism, we are worried about that not only of the physical and the emotional and the mental negative experience that the victims are suffering, but there are other consequences that are negative too. Number one, depression and anxiety. In order to do this, to survive, they minimize their feelings. They may need to isolate or insulate their own feelings so that they don't feel the depression and anxiety so much. Secondly, they do not understand the nature of violence. I don't understand why they can be hit for no problem, for no reasons they've been victimized. So, and there is a lack of helpful resources and ability to trust others. They're difficult to get resources. During the non-pandemic time, we can always go to the hospital, we can always go to the clinic, or we can always call the hotline for people with problems. But under pandemic 19, COVID-19, because of the need to isolate, the need to lock down, and difficulty in movement, that these resources are not available. So because of lack of helpful resources, life will become more difficult for the victim. And this results in ability to trust others. Uh, the other negative consequence that the victim and that leads to being hopeless and helpless to manage the violent acts. And trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder become more common, and being blamed and feelings of guilt and shame also included in these negative consequences. What are the characteristics of intimate terrorists themselves? So just now we talked about the victims. Now let's examine a little bit about the character of the terrorists. Who are these terrorists? The first one, they take extreme measures to dominate and intimidate. So they can use a lot of intimidation techniques and measures to control the partner, and this can be very extreme. Not only just verbal, it can be physical and sexual, plus other forms of abuses, as I discussed earlier. Dehumanizing acts to control, meaning that a lot of put down, making fun, of putting the other persons in a very low position. Patriarchy, that is right to control a woman as a property, this become more transient within Asian family system. Destructive predatory act or practices, and lastly, involves violence in self-defense by the victim. Acts of violence, so we have the physical act that's done by the terrorists, hitting, punching, kicking, slapping, shoving, hair pulling, restraining, bullying, using weapons, strangling, using household objects to hurt the victim. Uh, okay, sexual violence involve demands to perform sexual acts, rape or forced sex. Uh, Here, related to the concept right, the husband feels that he has the right to have sex with his wife, irrespective whether the wife agree or not. This again part of patriarchy system. Treating partner as sex object, sexual act against one's will, other forms of sexual behavior, non-consensual sometimes, beside the normal sexual intercourse. Unwanted touching and sexual harassment. This is quite common because since they are most of the time in the house, not going out, the unwanted touching and sexual harassment sometimes in front of other family members. Okay, for psychological violence, this is less observable. This involves intimidation, threats, and causing fear. Number 4, financial violence include financial control, access to resources, and complete financial dependency. So these are some areas that cause the victim to suffer further throughout the hostage time in case of COVID-19 pandemic. So effects of intimate terrorism on families. Just now we focus on the victim herself, but not on family members. What happened when intimate terrorism occurred within the family system? Number 1, personally experiencing the sufferings of the victim. So family members suffer as the victims suffer. This is what we call compassion suffering. That I will discuss later on. So this suffering can occur from seeing, hearing, or wearing. Seeing the victim being hit, hearing that the victim cry, and worrying when is the next time that the victim will suffer more through the hitting. Upsetting and difficult, and it's heartbreaking to notice and to watch that family members are being hit like that. And pain and suffering, giving up hope and fear of death. Family members coping with grief. So it's typical when the family members suffer. Actually, if it is in the case of the trauma victim is a mother, then they feel the grief and how to manage and how to help the mother recover from such trauma. Vicarious trauma is a situation where the individual within the family, actually the children, looking at how the victim been treated. This is a change process resolution from empathic engagement with the victim. So the victim, the family members, experience empathy with the victim, and that empathy response leads to vicarious trauma. So this is experienced by bystanders, by the children, and they are what we call experiencing bystander guilt. They feel guilty by looking at that, but not able to do anything. They experience shame and doubt because they have no power and they are helpless and hopeless to help. And because of that, they become so emotionally involved, they suffer the same way as the victim themselves. Becoming witness to the pain, fear, and terror the victim has endured. That's also part of vicarious trauma. Over-identification with the victim, having horror and the rescue fantasies, meaning that they hope they have the power to rescue. So difficulty in maintaining personal boundaries over a extended period of time. So there is I will answer all questions later on, but I'll complete the presentation first. The next one. Okay, this is a special topic which I'm very interested in, COVID-19 and intimate terrorism. Why, in terms of times of difficulties like this, domestic violence always on a decrease. Now, the reason is this. Number 1, COVID-19 pandemic has many control measures to prevent the spread of the disease. So part of the control measure is stay at home, and we are encouraged to stay at home. And by staying at home, there will be limited personal movement. We are confined to the homes, and with economic instability and lack of safety. These are some of the reasons related to that, because we cannot go to work, and we are not involved with other people as beside family members. There is no social contact. There is no social outlets for our anxiety, depression, or even our anger, and we feel not safe within the family situation. Victims are trapped and demoralized because, remember, the term I used was hostage situation. You cannot escape. Difficult and limited access to support services and system. You cannot contact, even if you find difficulty to call ambulance to come take care of you. Confinement is associated with fear, anger, frustration, boredom, and sometimes depression. Okay, in this situation, because you are confined space, there's no place to go. So actually, if you have a large family members, so all the children and the parents are stuck together in the house, 24/7, and this increased a lot of problems. Opportunity infection created by COVID-19, meaning that other diseases, other problems are created through COVID-19. So the most common problem, which we have a very high response in Indonesia, is in terms of children's abuse and also increase in depression among adult and children. Number 5, betrayal trauma. This is quite slightly out of place, it seems, because betrayal trauma occurs when one partner cheated the other partner through affairs. Well, how can you have an affair now when you are locked in the house? So this is but real thing is that here the betrayal trauma is not real but more visual, because being locked in the house, no other activities. Most people spend time on their computers, on their smartphones, so they are contacting each other through this, and they are involved in long distance or emotional affairs without the sexual component of that affair. So betrayal trauma is a big problem now, actually among the younger age group. So before we finish, there are two areas that we need to look at. One in terms of assessment and treatment. So when a counselor, for example, or any other people in the helping profession, assessment involves firstly to ensure the safety of the victim. And secondly, make sure that you do a suicide ideation assessment, because high depression can lead to suicide. The danger that the victim can be exposed, you need to assess the danger situation. And number 4, psychological emergencies need to be provided. And normally, the example in Malaysian situation, the Ministry of Health has created services for this. But again, in terms of accessibility and contactability, it is difficult to get the services. And we can even go out on our residents to receive the kind of treatment that we need. And number 5, mental health status examination. This is normal form assessment that we do to all our patients, actually when we are clinicians and psychotherapists or even counselors. Last one, in treatment strategies, we can involve didactic and psychoeducational. Most important is psychoeducational. The psychotherapists, there are many types of psychotherapists that are helpful in terms of dealing with intimate terrorism, actually the victim. One is cognitive behavior therapy. CBT is short-term and can be quite effective, and it can be done directly to the person concerned. We can use the CBT either face-to-face with the individual, but we can use online counseling and using phone. Skills training in effective interpersonal regulations, how to control emotions, so emotional management is an important part of the treatment strategies. Interpersonal psychotherapy, cognitive process therapy, relationship prevention and relationship safety, helping to overcome PTSD, and lastly, psychopharmacological treatment. So briefly, that's what some of the things that are involved in terms of managing intimate terrorism. So now I'm open to questions. So anybody has any question to ask, I'm here to respond to you. Whatever that concerns you, I'll try my best to answer them. Okay. I can't hear anything. So we have probably found.
There's one question, Dato.
Yeah.
Proceed.
What is the question?
Emmanuel, there's an issue before regarding his current speech, which mentioned Islam for terrorism and those who promote radical Islam. Your opinion, Prof, is from Emmanuel Macron.
Okay, this is very important. Islam is a religion of peace. Okay, and other people saying that we are promoting a lot of things that are not accepted. The word radical here implies as if Islam is aggressive, but Islam is not aggressive. Islam is peace. Islam is understanding. Islam is compassionate, and Islam is helping each other. But are the people looking at Islam and use terms like radical Islam, like terrorism, which is not appropriate to Islam. Islam as a religion is different from activities of Muslims. So we need to differentiate with two things. And not all Muslims are terrorists. So there are elements of terrorism in Islam, but not the whole of Islam. So people like to pick up the small issue and enlarge it to such an extent that Islam means terrorism. So again, the issue with radical terrorism is the same thing too. Another question?
Yeah, there's one. No, this question is from me. I just would like to find out from you, Dato.
Yeah.
Self harm. Self harm is also violence, isn't it? So, what do you
Yeah.
think if the victim and the perpetrator are the one and the same? How do you still call this?
That one we call violent resistance. They want to resist the violent act by hurting themselves first. So when the uh, terrorists or the perpetrator look at that, then they hope there's some feeling of compassion not to hurt them further because they're already suffering. But when you involve with self-harm, there's other elements to that. There could be an element of suicidal ideation and suicidal attempt because they are not able to tolerate the pain. But sometimes pain also one physical pain is a mean to test whether you are suffering emotional pain or not. But sometimes physical pain not as painful as emotional pain. That's why we need a kind of what we call emotional first aid. So this is we seldom talk about this issue. When we fall down, we hurt ourselves. We wash it. We take plaster and we take physical aid. But what about psychological aid, emotional aid? When you hurt, when everybody hurts your feeling, you feel bad, you feel mistreated, but there's no way for you to go. So you can continue suffering. So you don't take care of your emotion and you don't use emotional aid to overcome your problem.
But in times like this, during the COVID-19, especially those who are staying alone, is because of loneliness and all that. You harm yourself to get attention, or is that
Okay.
considered as one way of
There is a possibility of doing that, but the issue is that you are being alone and you hurt yourself. Nobody knows about it. So a lot of people do not go to that uh, passage. They prefer to use video conference, showing a video, showing on the social media that they are suffering, and then they get all the attention they need from other people, and then maybe others can come and support them. But normally, when they are on their own, they don't do such self-harming. It occurs only if they use virtual media, social media, to express their dissatisfaction. In fact, this is very common now. This is what we call digital distress. So people show a lot of things that they suffer through mass media, and other people are sharing all those information. So everybody is sharing about their suffering. So the more you watch the social media, the more distressed you become. So the time of COVID-19, it is better not to focus on this context, social context, because a lot of contexts are not good for you. So minimization of that process is better. If you want to use social media, use for the positive aspect of it, the good things, not the bad thing. But we, by nature, like to see the bad thing. We enjoy the suffering of others because there are many people suffering with us. So we focus on suffering. Instead, we should focus on how we live, how we manage, how to be better within the current pandemic situation.
Okay. I'm asking a lot of questions here. So you were talking about cohesive terrorism. So then what about things like people who go now you see in the news in TV in Malaysia itself, the killing of the spouse, the children. We hear news even yesterday, I think. Is this directly because of COVID-19, or is it because of the what do you call that, the what is in COVID-19, where people don't have work and all that aggravate them to have this kind of temperamental characteristic, or no,
Yeah,
or they already have that characteristic of being mentally not stable and all those
okay, I mentioned just now in terms of pre-existing factors. So this president is already there. COVID-19 pandemic aggravate, make it better, make it worse, meaning that the issue become bigger and people right on top of that. This is also what we thought in terms of opportunistic containment, that the person get increase in their violent behavior because they're already there. But pandemic 19 created the environment. I used the word excellent just now. So the COVID-19 could be form of triggers to the situation, but the persisting factor is already there. But last time, even though there is a persisting factor there, they are able to get control of it because we have the social contact, we have the hospital, we have all the support. But now we lose everything. The only thing we have is each other, and the situation make it worse, and we use each other as a target of our expression of anger and expression of our dissatisfaction with our lives.
Okay. So then that means that there will be some form of therapy that these people can go to, isn't it?
Yes, treatments are available, but not easy to access. That's the difficulty. We tried a lot. Kementerian has tried their best to use online services, but not
Right.
enough. There are not many people are trained to do this. In fact, within Malaysian context, we have not many people are trained in trauma management. I started doing that back in 1990s when we tried to develop a work program for this because trauma management is an important part of counseling service and psychological service. Certain hospitals have people are trained to this area, but most counselors are not trained in managing trauma, especially related to pandemic 19, because it's something new. So we need to develop a program as we move along. So related to that, so we also need to offer support and help to the frontliners because they are expressing a lot of negative feelings themselves. So
Yeah.
if they are taken care of, then how can we provide service for others?
Mhm. So there was a question on what you think about the intimacy during this time, COVID-19. There was a question by Avicenna.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Intimacy is two-way street. So you can become more intimate because it's each other all the time, but too close it become too much problem. So one person says that the more you know each other, the closer you are to that person, the more fault you find. So that's what happened under COVID-19 because we have no outlet, so we are together all the time. So you start to find mistake. Even small things become big mistake because there's no outlet. So intimacy is double-edged sword. It can be good to you, it can be bad to you depending on your frame of mind and how you interpret the situation.
Okay. There's another question by the viewer. What do you think about digital distress chat and affects digital distress chat affects
Yeah.
actual academic learning?
Okay.
And
Digital distress is a big issue actually among the younger age group because they are more pronounced to use all the digital gadgets. So the problem is a lot of false news. All the news being expressed are more negative in nature, and we are exposed to that. Even children are exposed all to traumatic experiences that are online, killing, hurting, maiming other people, and because of this, it leads to a lot of fear and anxiety among the users of the services. So the distress, digital distress, is a psychological issue now, just like other form of addiction. So dulu, last time we don't discuss much about this digital stress because digital stress has come out in the picture the last 3 years, and APA, American Psychological Association, beginning to focus on this area in terms of how to treat, because digital distress can occur among younger children as young as 5 years old. So then we need to really examine what are the psychological issues behind this, why are we addicted, and why children become more violent, because a lot of games and programs that are produced are more violent in nature. So children accept violence already as part of life. So this is quite dangerous because when they become an adult, they can become violent adult. So we need to look at how we minimize digital distress, and number two, how can we put content that are family oriented kind of program, family friendly program, rather than a lot of things. But that kind of program doesn't sell. So here there must be a balance between psychological need and financial need. So it
so
is
that
a
so
so
in a
it's,
way, you
mm,
also look at how you can divert the rather than they all the time with digital, how you can divert the attention to some of the more traditional kind of ways activities to to express themselves. Is that what you mean? Huh? Like
it's not,
children.
to me it's not diversion. It is replacing the digital activities with some other activities that are more helpful. Even using social media, there are social media that can be used. So this is part of what we call cyber parenting. So now we talk about, last time we talked about positive parenting. Now we talk about cyber parenting. How to parent children who are exposed to the screen 24/7. What are the issues related to cyber parenting? How do we control content? In terms of time limit, young children, you cannot be exposed more than 1 hour per day on the screen. Because children can also develop what we call screen fatigue. That means they're not able to fall asleep at night because their eyes on the screen all the time. When they go to bed, although they are physically tired, they are not tired in terms of making them asleep. So we have that issue now because related to multimedia. So it is very important for parents to actually guide the children how to use the media intelligently. We cannot prevent them from watching because it's there, but how to make it more intelligent in terms of affecting their physical, mental well-being.
So this actually answers the question from a viewer on how can we identify and measure digital distress then.
Yeah,
So
it is.
yeah, there was another question on marital power play for married female students whose husband has a lower educational attainment than her.
This is very interesting issue.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this happened in our country a lot. Many of the women are well educated, and the men are not so well educated. Unfortunately, a lot of men are very angry with me when I say this. But we look at the university population. Okay, in the classroom, 80 to 90% are female. Only 20 or 10% are male. So that would mean that the female are better educated. So the only way to control the person that educated do is use physical force. Okay, so among couples who are married with differences in educational level, actually, women who are more educated than the husband or the man, the chances of domestic or domestic violence is increased. However, the couple need to really maintain good relationship between them. It can be managed. There are couples who are very successful. I'm not saying that all couples like this are suffering from the problem, but the chances are greater because of the need to control, actually financial control, because the wife will earn more than the husband, and the wife can spend what she wants, and sometimes her spending put the husband down. For example, let's say the father buy shoes for the son, buy cheaper shoes. The mother, because she has money, buy more expensive shoes. So in that sense, the wife is condemning the husband for his inability to support. So that create the initial seed of tension within the family. So they need to really examine the relationship carefully in terms of differences in income potential, in terms of social status, and also the ability to lead each other on par. The problem is that sometimes the men feel that they are much better. The woman belong to them. This is dinosaurian. Dinosaurs do that, but not, within Malaysian context, we are not like that anymore. Men and women are equal. We are the same. We earn money, and Malaysia is very good. Our salary is the same. You are clerk, male clerk, female clerk, your salary is the same. There are equality of salaries. But in other countries or in other situations where the female are more educated, better income, then the male find a little bit insecure and using one physical threat to actual physical abuse to control the partner. This is a bad situation.
Okay. Maybe there's another question that I just would like to ask you regarding you're talking about intimate terrorism. Is there any such thing as this is actually domestic violence? Any such thing as I hurt you now, and then later on I'll be good to you. That the honeymoon period, do you have that in this? Huh? Where you know hurt me, and then after a while you get back to me, and those kind of things. Huh?
Okay, no, in terms of marriage passages, there are 5 passages altogether. So first is the honeymoon. It only lasts 1 week. And then after, okay, once you know each other, you start to find fault. That's what I said earlier. The closer you are, the longer you are with somebody, the more fault you find about that person. So after our honeymoon, we go to the storming area where we start to fight. We start to find out what's wrong, how to make adjustment. So here a lot of power play. Then after that, we begin to start to do norming the relationship. What's the best way to do, how you function, what's your role, and each partner will balance it out. Then we have children. Then with children, we begin to manage the family, to take care of the family. That is what we call stable years. That can last 10, 15 years, 30 years, depending on your situation. And then we go into the other stage where we start to fall out of the relationship with each other. We start to distancing. So usually occurs after 7 or 8 years after marriage. This is why we call young the 7-year age. Kata 7 tahun, 7-year age. Then after 7 years, you begin to slow down your relationship, and actually after the birth of 2 children. So here you need to start forming the relationship again. Start to being close to each other. Do not get distracted by other people outside. So the first thing is to come back together and work the relationship together. Then you become stable again. That will retain until death do us part. So there are passages through our marriage. The most important thing to the issue of sometimes issue of divorce. Ini divorce is not necessarily suffering. Divorce can be an opportunity for happiness. So we look at the new concept of divorce. So we need to examine in terms of divorce education and divorce counseling. That's another area. Actually, in Malaysia currently, actually during the pandemic, the rate of divorce is going very, very high. So we need to manage that. But unfortunately, we do not have proper SOP to manage divorce cases within our country. This again can create problem for me because I'm touching the area of that belong to Jabatan Agama Islam, the religious department. But my concern is what can we do better to improve the relationship? If divorce can happen, how can we make sure that the family are not suffering? In fact, there's opportunity the family to become happy again.
But then, if you're talking in that terms of marriage and divorce, in terms of the Muslims, so again, we are talking about a couple getting married, and along the line, it doesn't get that smooth, and then you go your separate ways, and the children. What happens to the children in terms of this? It becomes like, the quarreling and all that. This is the abuse that we look at. What happens to the children and what happens to the wife? That you say it may be an opportunity for the couple to separate and they look at greener pastures and all that. So in the end, what happens then? Who takes charge of? You have things like the Sharia court and all that, but the children, who actually should be the one taking care of the children, the father, the mother, or you can choose anyone that you want, or how?
No,
The
better
children.
both. Better both. The concept now is co-parenting, not single parent. So we encourage couple. That's why divorce education is very important. We have program persediaan perkahwinan, preparation for marriage, but we do not have program persediaan poligami. We do not have program persediaan perceraian. So the three programs should go in together so that we can develop the patient or the individual as a whole. So they see the progression in their life and then can make better choices. So here's psychoeducation is very important. Teaching them not only roles and function, but also we talk to them about relationship, about the activities, and about expression of love, and control of emotions, and anger management, and all those areas need to be covered. But unfortunately, our program for persediaan perkahwinan only focus on very limited issue. So that's why we don't cover the rest. So we need to really look at the program wholly so that we can develop a good people before they got married, and then we can maintain their marriage longer and, if possible, forever.
But is there a possibility that this will happen? The preparation for not only before marriage, but then what you have just mentioned, Prof, at with
Okay, this is a very, very touchy topic. A lot of people express their concern. How can we teach people to divorce? Okay, my answer is very simple. Islam allows divorce, but a lot of the divorce in Islam is suffering. So why not we help divorce that does not suffer? Okay, maybe that's another, because it had to happen. There are things that we don't agree, that maybe the time is not suitable for us anymore. So we make sure that divorce is good. So from Islamic point of view, perceraian yang arif, yang baik dilakukan is a good divorce. A good divorce is better than a bad marriage. So now, in terms of children, how we co-parent, that's another issue that we need to teach parents. That's why Education is very important, both in terms of preparation for marriage and preparation for divorce, so that couples that go through the process are aware of what's going on. They know the consequences, what happened to children. But a lot are so self-centered, we're taking care of our own happiness, but forget the fact that children suffer too. This is what we
Yeah.
call compassionate suffering. So we don't deal with that. So through education, we can help couple to manage this so that the children do not have to suffer because of the parental problem. So here, it is very important the role of family planning, family education, and religious department to come up with a good procedure or SOP in dealing with this. We have the legal part of it. In Mahkamah Syariah, we also have the procedure, suluk and all those things. But in terms of educating the public as whole, this does not happen yet.
Oh, okay. So that means it is more the role, everybody's role, to look into it and then see what we can help, how we can help one another actually in the
Yeah,
community.
we go back to Islam. Islam says divorce is permissible in Islam. So if that's the case, why it is permissible? In what content it is permissible? How do you deal with it so that it becomes less painful or not painful at all? So this we don't discuss. We just said just divorce. Isn't it? So yeah, we look at the totality of the dynamic of divorce and how it affects the relationship and how it affects children within that relationship.
Okay. It is actually it's very interesting and we can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Do you have any last words to for us before we end the show, Prof?
Okay. For me, the most important thing is to love each other, to love and care for each other, and then if there are difficulties in the relationship, work it through. Do not allow physical violence, emotional hurting, and also in terms of social discrepancy between husband and wife cause problem to us. The issue now, we live in a time of a lot of challenges that make it difficult for us to be close. But at the same time, we can use this opportunity to become closer and take time to really understand and work with each other to create a good, happy family. For me, very important that the relationship is maintained and relationship improve over time, and then we can continue to be happy. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right, Prof. So maybe if we need to end now, so we may even have a continuity after this, another series. It is very interesting. I think more and more people will be joining us. So maybe to conclude, then I would say that for this afternoon's talk with you, it has been very interesting. It's just the start of many other talks that will come later, inshallah. And then we are looking at how we can develop healthy relationship, like what you say, and to understand one another for a long-lasting kind of family relationship or between friends or whatever, and not to be so negative and be more positive in life and see what is good for us. So with that, I think
I just want to say that maybe instead of looking at some difficulties, suffering, maybe we look at something positive. So maybe the topic they can look at later on is more or less a love and loving. That's a topic. What is love and loving? And we're going to how discuss this concept and how it relates to human functioning. So that would be a good thing to do rather than we can focus on negative things so that we can manage it, but we also need to increase on the positive things so that it can balance our life. Okay, well, with that, I thank you for asking me to participate. I hope I'll be helpful and have made some contribution to understanding our relationship with each other. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It has been very interesting, and then I hope to see more of you again in our other series. So for our viewers, this is all for now, and we thank you very much for joining us, and hope you had a good time with us and understand what we were talking about in intimate terrorism, because the word intimate terrorism, some were asking, what do you mean by terrorism? So that's it. So for now, I think this is all from the School of Nursing. Until the next viewing time. Thank you very much. And have a good afternoon. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.